What's up, listeners? It's Wednesday in South Carolina. Welcome back to the Touchdowns podcast with your host, Beck and Thomas Dugas. We're back to football, Thomas. Bye week. We talked about it last week. It's a great thing to be able to enjoy a Saturday stress-free and just enjoy the ball, but nothing like having your team play on Saturdays and the Gamecocks get another chance to go out there this weekend in Baton Rouge on Saturday night. Arguably the best environment in college football, as some people say. I will get to test that theory as I will be down there cheering on the Gamecocks live in Baton Rouge. So hopefully have a lot of great stories to tell on our next episode recapping the game. But we want to talk about what to expect on Saturday. Let's dive into a little bit about our opponent, LSU. This is a series that they have historically dominated. The Gamecocks only have 2 wins against LSU in program history. LSU has 18 wins. In reality, 20 wins. They had 2 vacated. I don't know that we've ever won in Baton Rouge. Ross, will you fact check me on that one?
I think we've won.
But
We've won one time.
One in Baton Rouge, one in Columbia. Okay, so the opportunity is there to make a little history. I know we haven't beaten LSU since the '90s, so we were little kids when that happened, Thomas. So it'll be a cool experience to potentially see us beating LSU this weekend. Garrett Nussmeier's the story with this team. I think they had high aspirations because of who Garrett Nussmeier is at the quarterback position. He had a lot of Heisman hype, and a lot of hype behind this team was built around the fact that he was coming back to school and not jumping to the NFL. There's rumors that he's been playing this entire season hurt. I think those rumors were confirmed when Brian Kelly did admit that he had some sort of abdominal injury. They rested him a little bit during the week. They had a bye week as well last week, and they rested him a little bit. But he took sounds like he took some practice reps, and I fully believe he's going to play this Saturday and, expect him to play well, even though this offense has been sputtering, to say the least. Really a similar situation to South Carolina. We came in with a lot of hype around our quarterback. The offense has sputtered. The defense actually saved LSU against Florida. They forced 5 turnovers, had a pick 6, and were able to sneak out of that game with a win. Our defense, unfortunately, hasn't been able to make those game-saving plays against Missouri or Vandy in our losses, but obviously had the 2 defensive touchdowns against Kentucky that set the tone in that game. So both offenses are really struggling after, pretty high expectations. LSU's defense, like I mentioned, has been great. They're only allowing 12.2 points per game, which is good for 6th best in the country. So vastly improved from last year's defense. Blake Baker, their defensive coordinator, I think he's going to be on a lot of, especially as more and more coaches get to the hot seat, and we've already seen some firings across the country and expect a few more. I would think that Blake Baker is going to be on a lot of programs' short list for a head coaching job up in this next coaching cycle. But what are your initial thoughts, Thomas? Tell me about what you think of this LSU team, and as well as how South Carolina you think matches up and how we can play against this team on Saturday night.
Yeah, so I actually think that we match up really well with them when it comes to our defense against their offense, regardless of the health of Garrett Nussmeier, but obviously him being banged up, it plays into our favor. They have struggled to run the ball effectively this year, and they have actually struggled to run the ball effectively, and LSU fans have complained about them abandoning the run too quickly under this current OC
I think Sloan is his name.
Sloan is his name.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of experienced how effective Cade Durham can be. His coming out party was kind of against us last year, and he was kind of the thing that got their initial comeback against us going. So, they do have a back that we have to take seriously. But I think that their offensive line has taken a major step back from where it was last year. They lost Will Campbell to the NFL. He was a top 10 pick by the Patriots. And they just have not been able to run the ball effectively. They have not been able to protect Nussmeier as well. And he's playing hurt, so they can't take advantage of all the speed that they have at receiver, which kind of plays into our defense's strength. We did struggle to stop the run against Vanderbilt. We allowed 4 yards per carry against them. We definitely struggled to stop the run against Missouri, and that was the main reason why we couldn't win that game. We allowed 6 yards per carry against them. But against Kentucky, another team, they were unable to pass the ball because they had a young and experienced quarterback. And so we were able to sell out to stop the run. And they became one-dimensional. And then once we took the running game away and we forced the young, inexperienced quarterback to beat us with his arm, our pass rushers were able to get after him. We were able to, we had the strip sack by Dillon that turned into a scoop and score. And then we had the pick six. So for all those reasons, I really like the way that our defense matches up with their offense. But on the flip side, our offense has continued to struggle, and their defense is really, really good. Like you said, they're sixth in the country in scoring defense. Part of the transfer portal budget for LSU this offseason went to getting 2 really good safeties out of the portal. I believe one of them came from Houston. He was an All-American last year, but their secondary is really, really good. 2 safeties out of the portal. They have a 5-star corner that they got out of high school, DJ Pickett. Like you said, they had 5 interceptions against Florida. One of those went for a pick six, and that was really the difference in that game. That LSU beat Florida 20-10. So the defense scored half as many points as their offense was able to. So I really think that the team that can run the ball in this game is going to be the team that wins. We started to show signs of life running the football at the end of the Kentucky game. That final possession that we had, we ran it 14 straight times, just kind of killed the clock and put the game away. So that's really encouraging. I think that Sidney Newsome Jr. starting at center over Boaz was the right decision. I expect to see him as the starting center again coming out of the bye week. The only other question mark as to who would be playing would be at the right tackle position. Is Cason Henry healthy enough after the bye to start, or will we stick with Big Tree? But regardless of who the starting 5 are, I'm hoping that over the bye week we kind of corrected some things, got on the same page, and we have a really good game plan put together to allow more balance and take some of the pressure off of Lenoris.
Yeah, it's interesting. One thing LSU did, you mentioned their offensive line, and Will Campbell's a stud starting for the Patriots right now. They had some other dudes that left and went to the league. They tried to fill those gaps in the transfer portal, as did we with Boaz Stanley, and we tried to fill some of our holes on the offensive line. I don't know I think that's maybe the one position that you really have to develop a cohesive unit. These plug and play, I don't know an example of it. I feel like the best offensive line is in the country, and I could be wrong, but the best ones in the country are homegrown and built from recruiting, and they develop chemistry with the team, and it's very hard to plug and play with the offensive line in the transfer portal. And both of these teams, LSU and South Carolina, are two examples of
So
that, where you try to fill a hole and you've haven't seen at some of the other positions, linebacker, defensive end. There's been some success stories out of the portal, skill positions.
Remind me of the guy that we got from Yale that played O-line for us. Do you know who I'm talking about?
God, yeah, I do know who you're talking about, but Ross, help me. It wasn't.
He was an effective starter for us. I agree with you that it's probably in your best interest to be able to, Nick Gargiulo. I agree with you that it's better to just recruit these kids and let them play together and grow together and really know how to play with each other. But I think it's less of that you can't plug a guy in and more of that we just missed on our
evaluation.
I just think that Boaz is just not good enough. But I mean, sorry to cut you off. I wanted to highlight that.
No, that's fair.
I think that there are way fewer talented O linemen that make it into the portal than some other positions. There are just few good.
I think that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what.
In general,
it's the same thing in the NFL. It's the same thing in the NFL. They're just at such a premium.
Yes,
that's why tackles get paid the second highest position. Highest paid position on the offense is the tackle.
Right.
And there's such a premium, and you see offensive lines in the NFL that lose offensive linemen to injuries. Those teams tend to struggle because there's not enough good offensive linemen, and so when you're trying to plug and play, and I just think you're right. It's an evaluation issue, but also I would be interested to do some research on my own and look at who the best offensive lines have been in college football the last 5 to 7 years, and years, in this NIL era, transfer portal era, and see which ones were made up of transfers and which ones were homegrown high school recruiting. But back to the LSU Carolina game. I'm hoping we've seen Mike Shula on the scripted drives, first drives, have a lot of success. His play calling and adjustments in game haven't been great. I'm just looking for, in this game, to give ourselves a chance to win, the obvious things: cleaning up the penalties, 14 penalties against Missouri on the road. You're just not going to be able to win. And winning on first and second down. That's going to be huge. I think Lenore's coming off the bye. I think he's well rested. I wouldn't mind seeing him carry the ball 20 times just so we can get ahead of the chains and trying to eliminate negative plays, and also the threat of the run some read option stuff where the threat of Lenore's legs gets their defense second guessing because they're fast, they play fast. The Weeks brothers at linebacker, they got the kid from Florida, the D end, and
Hyburn.
Like you said, they're stacked with talent, and no one's really done much on them. And again, you look at the offenses they've played outside of Ole Miss. Clemson's not impressive. Florida's not impressive, and they played 2 non-power 4 teams. So there is hope that you can exploit some things, and they just haven't seen a dynamic player like Lenore's at the quarterback position. Hopefully, we can get some guys going in the receiving corps. Trey Jacobs has been the man so far, but still, you always have the big play factor with Nick. And again, it's going to be about keeping ahead of the chains. Let Lenore make a couple Superman plays, and hopefully our defense can shut down their offense than anemic. But any other insight into what you see from this matchup, Thomas?
I have a kind of a insane spin cycle theory. Because we know about the environment that we're going into, Death Valley at night, because we know of what the crowd noise is going to be like, and all of those elements. I'm hoping that part of our game plan is just stripping the playbook down and keeping things super simple. We know that we're not going to be able to go up there and audible a bunch and check at the line just because of the noise. We're not going to be able to go on a hard count because of the noise. So I hope that we just kind of pick a handful of plays that we feel confident that we can execute. Like you said, if Lenoris needs to carry it 10 plus times, 15 carries, 20 carries, give us an extra blocker. What we have to do on offense is not beat ourselves like Florida did. I feel confident that with their offensive struggles, with Nussmeier's health, with the strengths of our defense, that we are going to be able to slow them down. So what we really need to do on offense is not give them any short fields and not give them any points. So I kind of hope that because of the crowd noise, we kind of forces Shula to just consolidate, and it actually makes us more effective than trying to get too cute or too fancy.
Yeah, I agree with you, because it's going to be ball security too.
And I'll say this. Lenoris, he has the pick. He has the one pick against Vanderbilt, but if I'm not mistaken, that's his only turnover this year. So he has been way better about ball security, whereas this time last year he had multiple fumbles and interceptions. He is taking much better care of the ball, and I think that we are, as an offense, taking much better care of the ball than we did in the first half of last season. So that's going to be it.
No, you took the word
Saturday.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, because that was the problem last year. Is we could move the ball and we were pretty explosive, but the turnovers killed us, and a lot of them were fumbles by Lenoris, interceptions, and we've been better at ball security, but we're basically turning the ball over in a sense when we probably have like 4 3-and-outs a game. I would have to go back and look, but I remember multiple against Virginia Tech, multiple against Vandy, multiple against Missouri. Even we might even had 1 or 2 against Kentucky, but the ball security has been better, but we can't convert on third down, mainly because we're usually 3rd and 9 or longer, and just the percentages aren't going to be in your favor. That's why it's really imperative that we get some positive yards on 1st and 2nd down, and we don't have any penalties that put us behind the chains. If we can play clean, like you said, keep it simple. I mean, I've bitched about Shula's playbook being bland and run right, run left. Run left for 1 yard, run right for 1 yard, 3rd and 8, throw an incomplete pass. Seen that a lot this year. And you want creativity, but to your point, if we could stay ahead of the chains, keep it simple, that's going to be a winning formula in this game with the atmosphere and just the defense that LSU possesses and the talent. Their knack for taking the ball away. So don't try and get cute and put your defense in a backed-up spot, especially when their offense is struggling. It might be one of those games where a punt isn't the worst thing. Flip field position, let your defense cause a turnover to give you a short field. So
because
it's going to be a battle.
As talented as Nussmeier is when he is healthy, one thing that I would say that his biggest, his most glaring defect is that he does put the ball in jeopardy too. He makes a lot of arm confident throws, and in a lot of the games that they lost last year, it was because he was turning the ball over. So I don't know how his health is going to play into this matchup, but I have seen in the past, even when he is healthy, he puts the ball in jeopardy. So, like you said, us punting is not always a bad thing. Like, back them up, make them drive the field on our defense. Maybe Nussmeier will be the one that throws the pick that gives us a short field.
Right.
I think that field position and special teams are going to be a huge element of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And this game is the start to a 5-game stretch where we are going to play all top 11 teams in the country. Obviously, those rankings will shake out differently as teams play over the next few weeks, but it's a pivotal game because if you look at this 5-game stretch, LSU, even though it's on the road at night, might be the most winnable game in this 5-game stretch. I mean, Oklahoma seems like they're going to be getting Mateer back. Have probably the best defense in the nation, and I think Mateer was the Heisman front runner before he got hurt, in my opinion. Alabama looks like Alabama again after the first, we've talked about them, the first loss against Florida State, but they're looking like a really good team going forward. They've won 2 straight ranked games. They got Missouri this weekend. They're not going to be an easy out, even though it's at home. Then you get Ole Miss and A&M, who are both in the top 5, and both of those games are on the road. So it's like this might be the one that is the most winnable, but it could be the one that can catapult us and get our confidence going into 2 home games where, again, you never know what's going to happen on any given Saturday, but just a brutal stretch for the Gamecocks. It's been kind of the talk of social media. It even got up to, I saw Dan Orlovsky was looking at it, some of the ESPN heads and Josh Payton. It's nothing new for us Gamecocks. And not that I think this is the first time we've ever had a stretch like this on our schedule, but we always play a tough schedule. And I want to shout out Beamer in his press conference. I loved his response to the question, what do you think about this stretch of 5 straight games with playing top 11 teams? And he just said that's what you expect when you come here and you play in the SEC. And as fans, we need to ultimately, we can't complain about the schedule. It is what it's going to be, especially going to non-conference games. And that ultimately in this new era of college football is going to be beneficial for us when you start talking about strength of record metrics and all this BS that the committee is going to use. So it's going to be an interesting. I just thought that was an interesting thing, and I appreciated what Beamer said in the press conference about the schedule. And this could be the game that could get us going for a brutal stretch, nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of is this game more winnable than the rest of the games on the stretch? It keeps us in control of our own destiny for another week. If we win this game, everything that we wanted to accomplish at the beginning of the season is still possible. Whereas if you lose the game, you fall to 3-3, and you kind of have to really recalibrate what your expectations are for the season. And you're going to have to, we would have to really dig deep within ourselves to kind of keep fighting through the stretch. Whereas if you go down there and get a win, the narrative becomes, okay, we still have to take it 1 week at a time, and it's still a brutal stretch, but everything is still out in front of us. And I think that makes it a lot easier and more exciting to keep taking these games on one at a time if you start this stretch with a win at LSU. But in terms of the schedule being tough, I think this is a kind of a good segue into one of the talking points that we had for this episode after the LSU preview, which is we canceled our home and home with Miami that was scheduled to begin in 2026. I personally hate that, and I know why we did it. With us going to a 9-game conference schedule starting next year, and with us playing Clemson in the non-conference every single season. Had we kept that Miami game in 2026 and 2027, we would have been playing 11 Power 4 opponents with only one kind of cupcake easy win game on the schedule, versus I assume that we're going to replace Miami with a second one of those. And having an easy win is great. It pumps up your, it can make you feel different about the schedule. Obviously, if we kept Miami, it's going to be a lot harder for us to get to bowl eligibility than if we don't. But in my opinion, I'm kind of over that. Either we're good enough to make the playoff and compete for a championship, or we're not. Us going 7-5 rather than 5-7 and playing in the Birmingham Bowl doesn't mean anything to me anymore. So I hate it. Yes, it would have made our schedule incredibly, incredibly difficult to navigate, and we would have been staring down the barrel of the stretch that we have right now, maybe for 8 weeks in those 2 years. But at the end of the day, you're good enough to beat good teams or you're not. And if we would have won those games, that's a great recruiting tool, and that's a great showcase of our brand on a national landscape. No one's going to tune in to us playing Wofford or whoever we replace Miami with, and no disrespect to Wofford, but they're not a Power 4 team. They're not Miami. It doesn't do anything for us other than just give us an easy win. So I'm not for that. In my opinion, it would be way better for the sport instead of for all these Power 4 teams to try and manipulate their schedules to make them as easy as possible, for us to just correct the strength of schedule metric and not penalize teams for losing to a good team in the same way that college basketball is able to do this. In college basketball, if you play a good team, ranked team competitively, and you lose, it doesn't hurt your RPI. In some cases, it improves it. They've broken quad 1 win versus a quad 4 win. So it's possible to be done. So in my opinion, that would be a much better way of addressing college football scheduling and college football ranking than just throwing an extra FCS opponent on the schedule.
Yeah, no, I'll expand on that because I had some thoughts on this too. And I actually love the college basketball point. And one of the things about college basketball that they do right is they have major marquee non-conference matchups all before conference schedules start in January. You start playing your conference schedule in January, but leading up to that, the best teams in the country are playing each other out of conference. And I think in college football, where we need to get to is if every Power 4 conference is going to play non-conference games, each Power 4 conference should also play 3 non-conference Power 4 games.
Yes.
And I loved your idea because I do care about these mid-major programs in the state, and those programs shouldn't go away because of these changes. I love the concept of a preseason game where it's a bye game. There's enough money that South Carolina can pay $500,000 to play Furman in August as a preseason, or hell, do the spring game
yes,
as a bye game.
You could do
instead
both.
of it
You could
being a
do both.
scrimmage. You could do both.
Both.
You could do both.
We can
Have a
play.
spring game against Furman,
Yes.
play Wofford in August.
Yes.
And
They
then you're
still
playing. You need to be able to play.
They still get the money they need for their athletic department. We get a look that we need in the spring and in the fall. But then the regular season can be all games that actually matter. And you
as they
don't
should.
have to shy away from scheduling a competitive like I'm kind of sick of hearing SEC and Big Ten and ACC fans complain about each other's schedules. Let's just play each other. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So,
that's what they do in college basketball. They have the ACC
because they're not
SEC.
penalized for it.
Right. I know. I'm saying there needs to get to a point where, and there already is, it's a committee, just like in basketball. It's a committee of humans picking. It's not these metrics or anything like that. They use the metrics, but ultimately, when you have people parading the Big Ten's better and deeper than the SEC, no one really thinks the ACC and Big 12 compete with the Big Ten, but they're still Power 4. But why not just let it play out on the field? Everyone wants it to play out on the field. You want these marquee matchups. It's going to drive TV revenue. I don't see why it's a bad thing for college football, especially the way college football is going. It's not the college football of old, and it's never going to go back to that. So there needs to be advancements that make the game better, in my opinion. And to your point, how do you think that would affect the TV deals for these conferences? If there's no cupcakes, where Ohio State, who's the breadwinner for Ohio State and Michigan, are the breadwinners for Fox in the Big Ten deal. Imagine if Fox didn't have to say, well, shit, Ohio State's playing Kent State this week. We can't put them on Big Noon Kickoff. Imagine if they were playing a Clemson or North Carolina or Florida, and you can make these matchups, and you can do it based off of.
It would be better. It would be better for TV if these are home and homes. It would be better, like Ohio State coming to Columbia, and then us going to Columbus is better than a home and home with a mid-major group of 5 school. So it's just better. And the only reason that people don't want to do it now is because they're trying to protect their record and have a chance to make the playoff.
Right. And that's the thing, is there's never going to be balanced schedules. There's always going to be a little bit of an imbalance, and that's when those metrics do come in.
But it could be a lot closer than it is now. If like you said, if we go to 9 conference games and then the 3 non-cons are all against Power 4 teams, it wouldn't – there would still be someone who has the toughest schedule, but the easiest schedule would still be very respectable. The thing that makes me sick right now is I have to sit there each week and watch them talk about which group of 5 school gets the 12 seed. And I'm just like, they don't deserve it. I don't – there is no reason why we should have to include them. The onus should be on them to schedule – if they know that their conference is not strong enough to merit a top 12 ranking, they should have to go out and find non-conference games that make their schedule tough enough to be included. And, I don't know what the future of the playoff will look like in terms of automatic qualifiers, or if once they expand it to 16 teams, it'll just be the top 16, and the group of 5 won't automatically have the 16 seed. They'll just have to be ranked in the top 16. one way or another. But changing up this scheduling metrics and forcing everybody to play more Power 4 opponents, that would give the group of five. Actually, it would prevent the group of five from scheduling tougher. So I don't know. I don't care about the group of five. They can have their own championship.
To your point, there is a future where it's the Power 4 is its own entity, and there is no group of five. I could see that happening. For now, I am a proponent of the group of five. I think that's
why
they have one slot. I think it's good to see underdogs in the big games. I think it creates excitement, and yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it does.
Here's my issue though. Do you think that we could have gone 11-1 with Boise State's schedule last year?
Sure, but I mean,
how many teams do you think could have gone 11-1 with Boise State's schedule last year?
I don't know, but Boise State went 11-1 with their schedule. I mean, we could have.
This argument that you just have to play the schedule in front of you. Well, their schedule is too easy. It's just too I don't think that because they're in a poor, bad, small conference that they deserve to be included just because. They have to figure out a way.
That is the whole reason it's expanded to 12, is to give them one spot. So, you're bitching about them getting one spot when the format used to be 2 teams only. And then it went to 4 teams. So if you're complaining about
but
Boise State getting in,
why are we
then
giving,
you should be complaining about if you're not top 2 or top 4 getting in.
Why not just give Yale or Harvard an automatic spot? Why don't we just give
South Carolina?
Why don't we give
They play in the Ivy League. That's not even Division I.
What's the difference is my point. It's a different league. It's a different tier. Why are we including them in our field?
I mean, Boise State had the Heisman runner-up last year.
Cool.
Top 10 pick.
They got destroyed.
There's players. They also beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl in yesteryear. I was actually looking this up because I thought we were going to talk about that top 10 coaches list, and I was looking at Kyle Whittingham, and Utah went freaking 13-0 in 2008. And they beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. Nick Saban, Alabama. These teams can win, and they were at that time. Utah was in the Mountain West, and they would have been in this format. They would have been in the playoff, and they probably could have made a run in 2008. 13-0. Beat Bama in the Sugar Bowl. Nick Saban.
I just know
it can happen.
I know as a South Carolina fan, I know
that the group of five,
being included
could go to
can
us.
Only fuck us. It can only fuck us.
Then don't be. We need to be in the top 10. Then it only fucks us if we're not in the top 10.
I want us to be the 1 seed. But I'm just saying, I don't want to fucking be 13th again and get fucked out of the fucking playoff because of the group of 5. Fuck them.
But that hasn't happened yet.
It will. I know that it will.
It hasn't happened yet, and we should expect better. We should expect better. We should expect to be
out of the fucking playoff because the fucking group of 5. I know it.
I'll be sick if that happens, but I'll be sick.
It will happen.
But
it will happen.
If we take care of business, then we're never going to have a problem getting into the playoff. If we take care of business, we're in the SEC. It could end up fucking an ACC or Big 12 team. That's more deserving than a group of 5, but I don't think it's ever gonna. I mean, it does absorb a spot, but again, it's a 12-team playoff, so there's going to be debates on 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, just like there was last year. It was Bama, Ole Miss, us, Miami, all those teams. Like, it doesn't matter. You just have to – the group of 5 in this structure has a spot. So just think of it as an 11-team playoff. You got to be top 11. It's not that hard. It used to be top 2, and then it used to be top 4. So it's much easier for us to get in now. So you sacrificed one group of 5 team getting in the playoff for 7 spots for potentially South Carolina. Think about it that way. Let's just go back to a 4 team, and then the group of 5 will never even have to be worried about.
No, I like the 12 teams. I just don't like
the team. Yes. But shit, I mean, there you go. But all right, we went off on a little tangent there, but no, that's good conversation, and still, even I could say more about that.
I didn't think I was going to get that riled up. I am actually hot about the next topic. Fucking NCAA yesterday approves a new single transfer portal window that will open January 2nd and close January 16th. And the reason why this pisses me off is because the national championship is played on January 19th, which means that under this new rule, the 2 teams that are in the national championship and probably the 4 teams that are in the semifinals will have to deal with players on their roster as they are trying to prepare to win a championship, potentially going into the portal. And they will not be able to focus on the portal for their next year's team because they will be preparing to try and win a championship. And I'm sure that a lot of trolls and haters will say, well, Thomas, why do you care? South Carolina is never going to be in the semifinals, and it's not going to affect them at all. I actually do have some morals and standards too. And I think that even beyond the things that could or do affect South Carolina should be done a certain way. I don't think a team should have to manage their roster for the following season while they're actively trying to win a championship. And I know that the reason that they set the portal in this window is because the players have to be enrolled in a class to be eligible. And it's just bullshit. Like, these starting quarterbacks are making multiple millions of dollars a year to play quarterback at the university. And like, there is so much money going to these universities because of college football. Just fucking let them enroll for class at the end of the season, like 2 weeks into the semester, or fucking let them sign up for an online class, and that makes them eligible to play, and then they can fulfill whatever minimum hours they fucking need to over the summer. Like, this constant fucking need to muddy up the fucking transfer process to keep them as students. Like, how can they continue to fuck this up? Like, it's just a bad way to do it.
The NCAA is dumb.
Just let me run it.
The NCAA is very stupid, but don't worry, Thomas. They just passed a bylaw that college athletes can bet on professional sports. So they just got that out of the way. So, but yes, I agree with you on this point, and I actually want to talk about this. Joel Klatt, who I rarely agree with, I think he's a smart guy, but I think he just pumps whatever Fox tells him to. But he actually had to me, a great idea of the national championship should always be played at the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. And that's when the season ends. So aligning with this calendar, the season would end on January 1st. The portal opens for January 2nd through the 16th. And I think that works. You have to think about to me, the bowl games suck. The bowl games used to be awesome because South Carolina was playing Ohio State in the Outback Bowl, and you never get to see South Carolina play Ohio State. And there was these classic, SEC Big Ten matchups, ACC, SEC. All these bowl games were fun because typically fan bases got to experience a team that they would never have played otherwise outside of the bowl game. With the way bowl games are now, typically anyone with NFL aspiration opts out. Anyone who wants to transfer opts out. The bowl games are stale. They're not even good games. It goes back to the point of putting more Power 4 non-conference matchups into the regular season when guys actually have shit on the line and they're actually going to play. That'll create better matchups. I get the bowl games are money, and it's money for the university. It's money for the TV networks. The TV networks solve that by putting in more big-time matchups during the regular season. You can sign a massive deal that doesn't include bowl games. You're going to have the playoff games. But I honestly think the elimination of all bowl games outside of the playoffs should happen. I get it that it's a fun experience for players, and hey, maybe the remedy to that from a money perspective and an experience perspective is these opening season matchups at neutral sites. Low key, I hate the neutral site shit. But if the idea of having the season end on the 1st is going to go through, I think that's when you need to shrink the season down, start it a week earlier, play 12 games, and then you get into the playoff. But everyone else's season ends, at conference championship weekend if you don't make the playoff.
And do you think
that's my thought on it?
Do you think that should be the case if the field stays at 12 or only once it moves to 16?
I think either way.
I'm definitely
the bowl games are worthless. They're worthless.
I'm definitely down for getting rid of some of the bottom ones, but I don't know how I feel about hypothetically going 8-4 or 9-3, not making the 12-team playoff and then not playing a postseason game against somebody. Like maybe just raise the floor of what makes you bowl eligible from 6 to 8. And so there are fewer bowl eligible teams and that makes the bowl matchups better. And you're not watching.
But the players aren't going to play. That's the whole point, is the players don't want to play in the games. Like, it's been the problem. And then technically if this transfer portal window, they technically wouldn't be in the portal, but dudes are just, underclassmen that are planning to transfer are just going to opt out of the game and then jump in the portal on January 2nd. Guys that have NFL, and the guys that are going to the NFL are the guys we want to watch.
Right.
Those are the guys that are the best players on the teams typically. And so I get that it's a great opportunity for younger guys to get some game action, but to me, you solve that by doing a spring game against an FCS team, and so they have actual game experience against in a non-scrimmage format. But the way the college football landscape's moving, and again, I'm not saying I love this, but it's just the reality of it. I can't get it to go back to the traditional way that you and I watched it growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It'll never be that, so I might as well embrace some ideas that I think are good for the current state of it. And these are some of the ideas that I think would produce a better product than what we currently have. And basically what we currently have is no one who actually loves college football is making any of these decisions. and that's why we're getting shitty results. But I don't know. Maybe this podcast will get big enough that people will start.
I
Listening
wasn't
to
really
us.
prepared to debate on whether or not I feel like we should eliminate bowl games or not. That wasn't on the outline, so I don't really. But I do think it is beyond stupid that the portal window opens and closes before the season ends. So, in this hypothetical scenario, having the national championship on January 1st every single year would improve upon what they have set the portal window to be. But yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. There's going to be more changes, but again, can we trust the changes? But all we can do is voice our opinions on it. But we want to get to a listener question, and then we'll dive into the DB Blitz. Karan, class of 2021, is Lenoris or Nussmeier under more pressure to show up Saturday? I'll give that. Do you want me to take that one first, Thomas?
You can take it first. I'll go second.
So I'm going to say Lenoris, just from the perspective of I think Nussmeier has the injury to fall back on if his performance isn't up to snuff. There's been talks that he's injured and he's resting. And so I think that matters in narratives and these types of things. Narratives create the pressure. And so if Nussmeier comes out, has a bad game, the narrative can be that he was injured. I think for Lenoris, I think they're both under pressure, but I think Lenoris is under more pressure because, first of all, we have to win this game. To your point earlier, Thomas, if we don't win this game, the goals we have for this season are basically at a 0.1% chance of happening. 9-3 maybe gets us in the playoff, but if we lose this game, I don't see us going 9-3. So we have to win. Lenoris has to play well for us to win. I think LSU has a better defense. You could argue LSU has better supporting cast on offense. So I just think the result of the game is driven more by Lenoris than by Nussmeier. I think Nussmeier could play average, and LSU could beat us 17-13, like they beat Florida. I think if Lenoris plays average, we're not going to win. I think he needs to probably rush for at least 50 or 60 yards. I think he needs to throw for 200, 250 and make some explosive plays and maybe get in the end zone on the ground and throw a couple touchdown passes. But I just think Lenoris drives the outcome of the game more than Nussmeier, and so in turn, I just think he has more pressure to deliver in this game.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I do think that when it comes to the outcome of this particular game, Lenoris playing well is more important to our success than Nussmeier playing well is important to LSU's success. But in terms of pressure, it kind of depends on the lens or the perspective that you're looking through for who's asking. In my opinion, Lenoris, his draft stock, despite his play this year, has only gone up. And that maybe has more to do with the fact that Cade and Arch have kind of fallen off the board. But for Nussmeier's personal NFL aspirations, I believe there's more pressure on him right now to play better than he's been playing, not only in this game, but for the rest of the season. You know, everything that I've seen about Lenoris has been that, yeah, their O-line's bad, their team's not as good around him as we thought it might be, but he's still flashing every week. He's still making throws that make your mouth water, and he's still able to extend the play and break tackles like no one else in this draft class can. So I think that when just in terms of what Lenore's draft stock is or could be, there's less pressure on him right now than there is on Nussmeier. But in terms of the outcome of this game, there's more pressure on Lenore. We need Lenore more than LSU needs Nussmeier.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Appreciate the question from Karan. And as always, if you have questions, shoot them to us on Instagram or Twitter, DMs. You can text it to us if you have our numbers. What'd you say, Ross? Or YouTube comments, yes. And always like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Throw us a follow on Twitter or Instagram. We love. Yeah. Get nasty with it. Be honest. And with that, we'll get into the DB Blitz, sponsored by Touchdowns 5 points. For the best Philly cheesesteak in Columbia, head down to 5 points and get you one at Touchdowns. Cold drinks, great service. I also personally love the wings, but a great spot to watch a game, have a meal, enjoy yourself, kick one back. Touchdowns 5 points. Always the place to go for any game watching, booze having, good eating. So, DB Blitz, I am creeping and crawling back. I mean, from the dead, and I'm 8-2 the last 2 weeks. Feeling good about this week. It's a great slate. I actually am all SEC games this week. I think that's just because I've been watching more of those teams than any other team, but all SEC for me this week. I'm at 14-15-1, so getting above 500 this week. And as always, I will be going first on my picks. So throw them up there, Ross. All right. Georgia versus Auburn. Dogs are -3.5. I think in this game, people might say the line is sketchy. I did get hooked on Georgia earlier in the season against Tennessee, but really they probably shouldn't even have won that game. But everyone's talking about Auburn at night, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter. But I just think, Hugh Freeze is yet to win a big one at Auburn. Georgia, I think maybe losing to Alabama was probably the best thing that could have happened to their team. They still have a great defense. They have a good running game. I think Gunner's been actually great this season. He's made some clutch throws against Tennessee in that game, and I think he made some great throws against Bama, and the receivers dropped them. So there was really some plays out there against Bama where Georgia could have won that game. The defense held Bama scoreless in the second half. They dominated Kentucky last week. I just think Auburn's got to prove it to me. They might shock me, but in this spot, I like Georgia to cover. They've been dominant over Auburn in recent, under Kirby Smart. So as far back as 2017, 2016 when he got to Georgia. So I'm going to take the Dogs in Auburn on Saturday night, -3.5. Oklahoma +2.5. This one is creeping back down to a pick'em. I think there's rumors of John Mateer coming back for this game. I would have picked Oklahoma if he wasn't playing. I definitely think even if he's not 100%, I think in this game, Oklahoma can lean on their defense. Texas hasn't shown anyone anything. And that article on Arch was dumb as hell, but I think Arch obviously had way too much hype coming into the season. That was all created by the media. But so it's not the kid's fault, but ultimately he's shown a few flashes, but Texas hasn't really put it together on offense. Oklahoma has the best defense in the country. I think they can win this game just banking on their defense, and they might win 13-10, but I just don't trust Texas. Their defense hasn't, like we said on Sunday, their defense is supposed to be great on paper, and they have a lot of talent, but they haven't necessarily been world beaters. Florida had some big plays on them, so I expect Oklahoma to win this game. Rely on their defense. If Mateer plays, I think he just needs to make a couple plays on third down, extend drives, and if Oklahoma this game is like the race to 20. If Oklahoma gets to 20 points, I don't see Texas scoring 20. The Cox +9. We talked about this game. It's a must-win for us. I'm gonna trust Lenoris. He's gonna put on the Superman cape, and LSU's offense has been suspect. So hopefully the defense can force some turnovers and the offense can execute. I just think we need to play. We don't have to play perfect. I thought we had to play perfect against Missouri on the road, and we ended up playing a C- D+ game, and we had a chance to win. So I just think cutting down on the penalties, hopefully get some explosives in the passing game, win on first and second down, and then just continue to play solid defense, force turnovers. And I like us, I'll take us to win money line, but give me the 9. Might as well. Bama -3. Missouri has, by every metric, looked good. I hate to say this because we're one of the teams they've played, but they haven't really played. Their metrics look a lot better right now than I think they will at the end of the year. They're getting into the meat of their schedule. One thing that we did successfully against Missouri was explosives in the passing game. And Ty Simpson's been the most efficient passer in the country the last 4 weeks. They got Ryan Williams, Bernard on the outside. Again, Jam Miller has gotten back in the lineup. He had 130 yards against Vandy, so I think they can get a little bit of a running game going, but I think they're going to be able to exploit Missouri's secondary and score. It's going to be tough to stop Ahmad Hardy, and they're going to probably give up some plays to the Missouri offense, but ultimately I think this could turn into a shootout, and I think Bama will win and cover. And then finally, Ole Miss -32. I don't think Lane, I saw he had up in the this is funny. He had up in the Ole Miss facility first place SEC team versus first place Pac-12 team, referencing Washington State, trying to keep the team focused on the task at hand and not look ahead to the rest of the SEC schedule. I mean, Washington State is pretty awful. I mean, they gave up 59 to North Texas. They gave up 59 to another team that I'm blanking on right now that I'm looking up. But it was actually against Washington. They gave up 59 against North Texas the next week. They're just not a good team, and Ole Miss is a really good team, and Lane's not one to hold back from scoring. So I anticipate Ole Miss to win, score in the 40s or 50s in this game, and I don't really see Washington State scoring much on the Ole Miss defense. So I think this is going to be it's a big spread, but I think ultimately Ole Miss is going to cover this one with relative ease. I just don't think Washington State's that good. So all SEC teams on my slate, and hoping for 5-0 and getting me into the leaderboard spot so I can start going second.
Well, you're not there yet. Go ahead and throw them up for me, Ross. So it's going to be tough for you to make up any ground on me, considering we share three picks. I also like Georgia to cover 3.5. The only reason that I give Auburn any chance at all is that it's in Auburn and the stadium is haunted and cursed, and they always do weird stuff down there. But I think Freeze has kind of already lost the fan base in the locker room. And I think that, like you said, losing to Alabama may have been the best thing that could have happened to Georgia, to just kind of allow Kirby to refocus them and get them going for the rest of the season. I also took Oklahoma, and I would have taken them regardless of who's playing quarterback. We've known that Oklahoma is going to have a good defense as soon as Venables got there, and as long as he's there, their defense will be good. And the thing about Texas that I learned against Florida, we've known all season that the offense has been struggling, and Arch kind of isn't really what a lot of people thought he would be yet. But the thing that kind of got exposed against Florida that hadn't been yet was their defense, which had been the strength of their team up until this point, although they haven't really played anybody. They had the week 1 game against Ohio State, and then they had 3 non-Power 4 teams where the defense looked great, but they weren't tested. So with Florida being able to run the ball on them the way that they did, and hit some of the explosives that they did, I just think that Oklahoma is going to be able to do enough to win that game outright. We already broke down our game with LSU. I obviously think that we have a chance to win, so I clearly think that we can cover 9. I got Clemson minus 14. And, this is something that I almost never do. I prefer to just be able to root against them rather than ever cheer for them to do well in any capacity, which they'll have to cover a 2-touchdown spread. But, in this situation, I just think that I've seen it too many times under Dabo, them, especially when he is in hot water with the fan base, running it up on inferior opponents to kind of be able to be like, hey, guys, no, see, like I still know what I'm doing type deal. They did it last week against North Carolina. Boston College lost 45-7 to Pitt this past week.
They're ass.
Boston College is terrible.
They're not worse than UNC.
They're not as bad. They're not as bad as North Carolina, and I still don't think that Clemson is good, but they will cover the 14 against Boston College, in my opinion. And then lastly, I have Houston minus 14.5. They are playing Oklahoma State. This is more of a fade Oklahoma State play rather than like me knowing anything or liking anything in particular about Houston. I see all sorts of graphs and metrics on Twitter, and we all know how bad North Carolina is. I saw a graph that basically charts teams based on, if you have a good defense and a bad offense, you're in the top left. If you have a good offense and a good defense, you're in the top right, and so on and so forth. If you're in the bottom left square, it means you're bad at everything. And yet, I saw one where North Carolina's down here, and the only team that's worse than them at anything was Oklahoma State. So I said, I don't care who they've played. If there's a team that is that much worse than North Carolina, they're the worst team in the country. So that's how I got Houston minus 14.5.
And Gundy is fired.
Yep.
So they're working with an interim. So, well, we were on the same page for 3 games, which I guess I'll just have to go 5-0, and you go 3-2 for me to take the lead. But it might not be till next week where I get to jump in the leaderboard. Garrett Nussmeier, truthers, our time is coming. I don't know what that means, Ross.
Ross has been.
I thought a truther is a fan.
Ross doesn't think that Nussmeier is.
Or a hater. Yeah, Sussmeier. Sussmeier, as he calls him. Well, Gamecock fans and everyone out there listening, we appreciate you listening, and hope to have some great stories from Baton Rouge, and it'll be a fun weekend. Kickoff at 7:45 Eastern Saturday night in Death Valley. With that, this wraps another episode of the Touchdowns podcast. As always, go Cox.
Go Cox.